I introduced to you guys a very common situation in lane where your teammate is in distress and you have a decision to help them. So we're going to go ahead and talk about exactly when and why you do or do not help your teammates in lane.
Banana slam jam.
So in lane, most of your decisions to help your teammates are based on the lane equilibrium. In the early game, creeps are really important because creeps, while they remain about the same strength throughout the entire game, heroes become way stronger. So in the early game, the relative strength of creeps is very high. So the two things that should guide you on helping your teammates or not is whether or not the creep equilibrium will be good or bad for you after you do or do not help them. If you guys managed to follow me that far after all those random words, let's go ahead and get into it. So right now, if we look at the lane equilibrium, the PA has one creep over here, and I've got 3 creeps over here. So if I choose to ignore what's happening over here, say kind of like, Marcy, you're good, fend for yourself, do what's best for you, and I aggro these 3 creeps, I can pull them down the lane. And what I can do is make it so they intercept my own creeps back here. And what that's then going to do is that I will have 4 creeps, effectively, and they will have these 3 creeps until this wave gets here, which is a solid 15-20 seconds away. So I've given myself the number of creeps, which is a big deal. More creeps I have, the stronger I am. And I've put the lane closer to my tower, which is also a good thing. So when you're going for lane equilibrium and you're concerned about creeps, it's all about having more creeps than they do as often as possible and having the lane as close to your tower as often as possible. But what you're going to see here is I'm feeling kind of lazy. I'm not really thinking critically, and I'm going to go help the Marcy. So I told you exactly what would happen if I chose to not help the Marcy. But since I go and help the Marcy, these 3 creeps are hitting me. We're taking this awkward fight. Even though we missed the stun, it's whatever. And now, instead of the lane being all the way back here, the lane is still up here. And notice how instead of me having 4 creeps to their 3, it's now 7 enemy creeps to our 4. So what happens here is that because they have 7 creeps to our 4 and the lane's pretty close to tower, the PA is going to feel incredibly safe because if we were to ever try to go on him, we're going to get hit by a bunch of creeps. The lane is then going to push, and then the Pudge is allowed to pull if he so chooses. He would have an absolutely free pull over here. Fortunately for us, he didn't make use of that, but I managed to get hooked myself. Actually, let's not worry about that. So fortunately for us, he's not going to make use of this pull at 115. So if you're in the safe lane, and you can manage to get the lane pushed out like this right away by the first pull time, it's like the perfect play to win the lane because your carry will be level 2 while the enemy is level 1, and then they'll be able to occupy the lane by themselves because they have a bunch of creeps protecting them, and since they're level 2. So this is the exact spot as an offlaner we're trying to avoid, and as long as you concern yourself with how many creeps they have, how many creeps you have, before and after you choose to help your teammates, it'll be a lot clearer whether or not you're supposed to help your teammates. So every time you're watching your replays thinking, should I have helped my teammate or not? Look at the creep equilibrium beforehand. Look at what it would have been if you hadn't helped, and then look at it instead of if you had helped. The thing is, as a support, it can be more so about pulling the lane to make it better. As a core, it's more about getting the lane to the spot you want it to be. And then as long as the lane's in a good spot, you're good to go to help your teammate. So this is an obvious example where you don't help your teammate, but the easy examples where you do is where the lane equilibrium would already be back here, and you would already have more creeps than they do. So we want the lane to be in a good spot before we go to help our teammates. We don't want to leave it in a bad spot after or during the time that we are helping them.